Shalom. What you're looking at right now is a picture of the Anunnaki. You know, the supposed race of aliens, you know, reptilians or whatever madness is going on out there on these different teachings. You know, you have this New Age movement, and they're talking about the planet Nibiru and the Anunnaki, and you know, reptilians, and you have shapeshifters on the planet, you know, and that whole shapeshifter thing is, you know, very easy to debunk. When you go to the book of Job 13:4, the first scripture you go to is but ye are forgers of lies, ye are all physicians of no value. So basically the so-called white man is a forger of lies. You know, he's a liar. And this is all created by him, as you shall see in this lesson. Now, when you go to 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, because remember, Paul was dealing with all type of madness back then, so he had to constantly get down and basically curse people out because they were going off. Especially, really Jake, he was cursing out. This is 1 Corinthians 15:39. It says, all flesh is not the same flesh, but there is one kind of flesh of men, another flesh of beasts, another of fishes, and another of birds. So this scripture right here kills that whole theory about some shape-shifting human reptilian people on the planet, because all flesh is not the same. Man's flesh is different from an animal's flesh, is different from a reptile's flesh, from fish, from birds, you know. So all these things are different one from another. Just like there are also celestial bodies and bodies terrestrial. But the glory of the celestial is one, and the glory of the terrestrial is another. You know, and this is another lie that's been taught. Now, you know, I've seen this term Anunnaki for a while. You know, I just really didn't pay it no mind because I knew it was BS. But you know, doing some research, you know, on other things that that I was doing, I kind of came across it again. So I said, let me just look in. The spirit was on me to look into it, and basically the story of the Anunnaki, which is a story of Sumer, you know, Sumeria, which is here between the Tigris and Euphrates River. All that's in green, you know, Uruk, Kish, Lagash, you know, the plains of Shinar, Mesopotamia. You know, in that area, this is where ancient Sumer was. And the story of the Anunnaki basically is supposed to be the so-called fallen angels, you know, that were procreated, you know, through the seed of the gods, you know, and all that basically all that BS mythology that every nation that came after them incorporated into their legends. You know, so-called legends, myths, fables, you know, and that's what happened. So it took place in this area here. And this whole thing about the Anunnaki being the fallen angels and being descendants of the gods and coming through the god's seed, all came from this man here called Zachariah Sitchin, which was a Russian. You know, now this dude here, he's basically a Illuminati shill. You know, he works for the Illuminati, and they pretty much set him up to teach this bullshit because they're trying to push an agenda, which is the so-called New World Order, the New Age movement. You know, and this guy was one of the main people that's responsible for pushing this garbage, which he got from another clown. You know, later on in the lesson you'll find the guy's name. It's I believe it's a German name that he got it from. You know, and this guy, he credited himself as being a student, you know, and study in ancient languages, and he didn't know nothing, because when he went to college and when he was learning in London, he basically was like a finance expert. You know, he was expert in finances. He had no knowledge of different languages, and also this guy here basically was a top level Mason, as you can see here in this picture here. This is you can see that these are actual Masons, you know, with their Masonic garb on. And who do you see over here? The same devil that you see here, Zecharia Sitchin. You know, that's him right there. And here's a close-up of him. You know, he's hiding his face, but you can clearly see that that's him with his Masonic garb on, because he basically was set up by the Illuminati to push this bullshit about reptilian and, you know, and Anunnaki and all that crap, you know, Planet Nibiru. Now here he is with Jordan Maxwell, another Illuminati shield, and if you notice the handshake, Jordan Maxwell got his thumb on his first knuckle, you know, and that's a Masonic, that's a entered apprentice Masonic handshake. All right, so this guy, then both of these guys are intertwined. That's why this guy, Jordan Maxwell, he started off, you know, bringing out information on the Illuminati, but then they approached him and basically threatened his life, you know, to put his ass to death if he didn't stop teaching what he was teaching. So he incorporated this whole alien bullshit crap, you know, reptilian crap, you know, to throw the people off from the good information that he did have. Same thing with this devil right here. So basically this guy is a Mason, you know, and this is where the origins of that crap came from, you know, Zecharia Sitchin. You know, it says here, Zecharia Sitchin invented the Nibiru and Anunnaki lie on behalf of the Illuminati. It says it must have been around the infamous year 2003 that I ordered a book by Zecharia Sitchin, The 12th Planet. Absolutely innocent. I was looking for information on aliens and UFOs and stumbled upon the Zeta Talk website. It says this whole Earth cataclysm pole shift Armageddon scenario was very new and very shocking to me at the time. So by Sitchin's work, I planned to deepen my information on the subject. He is the one who introduced the ancient myths about Nibiru as Planet X and the alien visitors of Anunnaki. You know, so basically, you know, he's the one that really pushed this agenda out there. It says it must have been, I'm sorry, that was the same thing I just read. Let me cut this. All right, that was the same thing I just read there. All right, so basically this guy was the one that pushed that propaganda, this guy Sitchin. All right, it says the ancient language scholarship lie. Sitchin's self-introduction on the back of his book and on the internet always tried to imply that he had graduated in ancient languages and history, but the simple truth is Sitchin graduated from the London School of Economics, University of London, majoring in economic history. At the time Sitchin wrote his book, there was absolutely no chance of correctly translating ancient Sumer without thoroughly studying this language and the ancient tablets for a long time, and surely not by studying economic history. And one of the most distinct and qualified critics of Sitchin's thesis is Dr. Michael Heiser, M.A. and Ph.D. in Hebrew Bible and ancient Semitic languages. The scientific question in his open letter to Sitchin from 2001 were never answered convincingly, nor will they ever be, not because Sitchin died in 2010, but because his claims were a complex hoax. It says to produce fake scientific research results and to invent another most entertaining ancient astronaut story, this can have different motivations. This Sitchin just tried to copy Eric von Daniken's, that's the other guy's name, success by abusing Sumerian sources that are only really known and debunkable by a handful of people on this planet. Was it money, or did he even believe in his own theories? To give another light on this question, it is most interesting to dive into the real role the London School of Economics, where Sitchin study, takes in the world of the powerful global elite, the dark cabal of the Illuminati, top Freemason Zionists. And this guy was a straight up Freemason. The London School of Economics is a part of the City of London, the financial and factual power center of the Western world. That's, you know, goes into the City of London. It says Zecharia Sitchin is not a scholar of ancient languages. What he has written in his books could neither pass peer review, nor is it informed by factual data from the primary sources. Likewise, when Mr. Sitchin tells readers things like the Sumerian believed there were 12 planets, the Anunnaki were space travelers, Nibiru was the supposed 12th planet, etc., he is simply fabricating data. It isn't a question of how he translated text. The issue is that these ideas don't exist in any cuneiform text at all, Dr. Michael S. Heiser. And basically, this is another way of them introducing that BS about the sons of God saw the daughters of men, that they were fair, and went in onto them, and then there were giants that were born from that. These trying to say that these were those giants, the Nephilim, that's who the Anunnaki were, which is all straight bullshit. To produce fake scientific research results and to invent, just read that. The goal of the Nibiru Anunnaki lie, as Armin Reese described it in his Transcending the Global Power game. Various secretive organizations have always believed in a coming political messiah that could run their planned world government, new world order, stating of course that Jesus was not the announced messiah. Belief in alien gods as well as ethereal entities is a core component of their secretive knowledge and rituals, as well as the key Masonic and apocalyptic principle. Out of chaos comes order. If we continue all these aspects of this brotherhood belief system, Zecharia Sitchin comes right out of this tradition. The apocalyptic planet Nibiru, the Anunnaki genetic masters and gods of mankind. So basically this guy is trying to say that based off of a translation that he had for the word Anunnaki. He was saying that it meant those that come from the heavens or something like that. Now this is from another website where it gives you the definition of the term Anunnaki. This is the supposed one, ancient aliens. In the ancient texts of Sumeria, we have descriptions of these beings descending from the sky called the Anunnaki. The term Anunnaki means those who from the heavens came. That's what this guy's Zecharia Sitchin so-called translated. It says this is entirely wrong. The word Anunnaki means princely seed or princely blood. The idea is that the Anunnaki were direct creations of Anu, who was regarded as a father and king of the gods. So basically, what you have here is a story in Sumeria of creation. And the Anunnaki were supposed to be those that were created by the gods. Because when you go back into the history, the Most High created all these different nations. And all these different nations have some form of a creation story. A majority of these nations have a story of the flood. So these are all stories that were circulating back then, and when the written language was what came about, they started writing about these things, because prior to that it was passed down orally, just like the laws were passed down orally. So in process of time, when the Most High was getting ready to deliver Israel out of Egypt and delivered them out of Egypt, he called up for Moses and actually gave him this true story of creation and what took place and exactly how it went down. And Moses wrote it down. That's why you have a lot of these clowns in the Egyptology and in other places that say that the Bible was plagiarized from these different stories of creation and the flood from these different nations, because they wrote it down first. But the thing is most nations on the planet have a story of creation. Why? Because they were all created back then. And there were legends. There were stories. There were facts that were passed down to them from their fathers of what took place. So that doesn't mean that it was plagiarized. It just means that they all knew about this stuff because all nations were created at the same time. Now, this whole crap about the Anunnaki being the fallen ones, the Nephilim, goes back to the book of Genesis. So before I read this here, I'm going to go here to Genesis 6:1. It says, "And it came to pass when men began to multiply on the face of the earth." But what you have to do is you have to go a chapter before this, because what happened? The Most High created man and woman. But then when the sons of the Most High, or the sons of Adam, began to multiply, they started to deal with the women of the other nations. Because when you go into the scriptures,